Let's Talk Money.
Good afternoon, Chattanooga. This is Let's Talk Money with Jamie O'Donnell and Jim Place. 267-1023 is the number. Starting our market day, Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 101 points, sitting at 45,012. S&P down 16, sitting at 6,452. Jim, how are you?
I am doing excellent. Friday, I'm ready to go.
Would you like to introduce our guest?
Todd Henon with Henon Properties and Brittany, Fulmer, Ennen.
Hello, sir.
Yeah,
Glad
those are hard last names to not mix up. Ennen and Henon.
Yep. And then we have a Henon from yesterday's
spelling.
Henon works in the business, so it can be problematic.
All right, what's going on in the real estate world, guys? Local market, is it anything like the national average? What's going on here in Chattanooga?
Inventory has increased about 35% since last year, so we're hovering around 1,343 homes in Hamilton County across the board. It's interesting, we're still, quote-unquote, in a seller's market, so we're looking at 3.2 months' worth of inventory, but ticking up consistently. What's wonderful is our median sales price also continuing to tick up. So median sales price in Hamilton County is $399,000. National average is $410,000. So
we've never been that close to the national, and I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. I still have mixed. I guess it depends on if you're the young person trying to save for that down payment. That makes it hard for them. Mm-hmm. What's normal? And I hate to use normal, but 3.5 is still
3.5, quote unquote, normal or balanced market.
Okay,
is 6 months worth of inventory.
Okay.
So we're ticking up. Days on the market are continuing to increase. Buyers are expecting a little bit more. We're having more conversations around repairs and negotiations, but the negotiating rate is still around 5 or 6%. So,
how would you guys rate your ability to be able to price a home? I mean, I've had numerous people come to me and say, look, should I get it? They hadn't sold a home for 20 years, so they really don't know exactly. They kind of know their neighbor sold it for X, Y, Z. Sure. Where do you need an appraisal, and where do you need a realtor that just knows what the hell they're doing?
I think, or I would say, guys, our ability is darn good. The seller,
25 years experience helps with that.
I think. Yeah. The seller is the heavy in the room. So we'll lay out. Britt and I met with somebody a week ago today, or a family, and we laid out the numbers, and it was really, really clear where we needed to be, wanted to be competitive. But then the question is asked, so what's the motivation level? Is there a critical timeline? Mm-hmm. If something that's has value built into the pricing typically will move quicker than one where somebody is, quote, reaching, or they've maximized the price. So we can price a property well, then the seller's motivation and their financial goals are then the balance of that question.
And I would add the competition. So we're having conversations unlike we have had in the last couple of years about who is your neighbor and what are they selling, and are they superior or inferior to your property?
That's a great point.
It's interesting, too, because what I'm looking at, some of the numbers that you guys provided for us for this show was where you determine what a reasonable price is for a home really determines how quickly it's going to sell. Correct. Because if the client is over-asking, right. If they're asking more than what the real honest-to-goodness value of that property is, it's going to be a slower sale. Right. Or it's potentially not going to be a sale at all. Right. I had a conversation the other day with a very good friend of mine, used to be a professional golfer. Mm-hmm. He's in the commercial real estate business, and he's very good at it, doing a good job. And he was talking about a piece of land that I had out in Council Fire. Mm-hmm. And what I said to him was, he said, what would you take for it? And I threw out a number. He said, that's high. I said, yes, it is. I said, but I am probably the most unmotivated seller.
That's right.
On planet Earth.
That's right.
So you're going to have to give me a boatload of money. Otherwise, I'm going to hold it for 30 years. I'm going to pass away, and I'm going to leave it to my damn daughter. She's going to get a step up in base of the debt, and she's going to sell it for $400,000 or $500,000 20 years from now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So it does matter how realistic is the seller and how motivated is the seller?
Yeah. And it's not uncommon. We'll sit down with the family and they will, there may be a life event that's pushing them. There's a divorce, there's a death, there's illness that's setting in. They've reached the end of the game clock and it's time, we got to figure out our exodus here. That's a different conversation than the folks that we sit down and they say, I don't have to sell.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And we get that as well. So in that situation, what we do, it's a little bit different approach. It's like, look, I'll air it out. I trust you. I am not opposed or afraid to put one out in front of the market. We have to have the knowledge and the understanding that is, in fact, what we're doing. Because everybody
needs to be on the same page.
That's right. Our expectations, ours as a company, their expectations, and us. If we're out in front of it, it's like, heck, let's go for it. Let's see. And there are times when that still happens. We still see, we had an episode here not long ago where there were multiple offers on a property. Well, nobody's talked about multiple offers in, several months, but there were multiple offers. So there are those situations where a seller can absolutely crush it.
If you give smart people good data, most of the time they will make good decisions.
That's what we see in our business. It's where people get hurt is when they don't have good information.
Correct. And our job is to provide as much data and as much knowledge to the sellers, to the buyers, as we possibly can.
Let's go to the phone lines. Hi, Rick. How are you?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Yeah, you guys piqued my interest. I'm not looking to sell or anything, but it's always in the back of our minds. We're in our mid-60s, and our kids are not in town here. Simple question. What basically is an average commission for real estate agents? And I'll just hang up and listen to your answer.
Thank you, Rick. We appreciate the question.
Yep. So post-2020 settlement, the NAR settlement, his name was Rick?
Yes.
Is that right, Rick? So that kind of reset the clock when it came to commissions, and it underscored that every single commission across our industry is negotiated between the seller and their agent. So there is no standard, there is no typical, there is no normal. That is what I would call a face-to-face conversation between the client and the agent that's working for them.
Explain why it's a combination of the seller and the seller's agent.
The sellers and the seller, well, if I'm drafting your question, they're working together. So the seller's agent has a fiduciary obligation to serve the client, the seller, well. So they're aligned. Their interests should be aligned. And I think with a good agent, they're watching for the best interest of their client. That's what's driving them. It's not the dollars in the deal. It's not. It's that conversation between the seller and the seller's agent. They say, "Hey, here's my financial goals. Here's my motivation. This is what I'm trying to accomplish." That agent's not self-serving. They're there to. They have a relationship. They've built trust with this seller. They're trying to get to the same place together.
And
go ahead.
The same conversation happens with the buyer.
That's right.
So post the settlement, NAR, you have to have a buyer's representation agreement signed before you go see properties. So I'm having conversations with buyers, and Brittany, Ennen, Todd Henon Properties charges X amount. We're going to try to negotiate that on the face of the contract to be sure that the seller is paying that amount, but you have to know that I'm a realtor and I'm charging 3%, 4%, 2%.
Whatever the number's going to be.
Whatever the number is. Mm-hmm.
If let me ask this, is there more negotiation because of this?
Good question. So I think kind of like what we were talking about before the show started, the pendulum, if you will, there was an initial depression in buyers agents commission fees just post settlement. Guess what it's doing now? As this inventory conversation starts, it's swinging back the commissions are increasing because the consumer's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to try to navigate this without you. And so the buyer's reps or the buyer's agents commissions are in fact moving back up.
Which would probably be expected, that on the front end it would swing one way and then come back to some sort of normal level.
Well,
I mean, at the end of the day, the buyer's agent's working too. I mean, and I think there was some, it almost, just from the outside looking in, not being in y'all's industry, it almost seemed unfair to buyer's agents how this ended up playing out. But I actually think the transparency and everybody knowing what they're paying and doing, that's almost always a good thing.
Right. And that's how we have practiced consistently. There is no reason for anybody not to be transparent with what's happening from any part of the transaction, but especially with how we're negotiating commissions.
Yeah, I do think heretofore, before the judgment, it kind of set the stage for inappropriate behavior inside of the industry. I mean, I think it was, and probably folks inside of the industry took advantage of that lack of transparency, which is never a win. It's ridiculous behavior, but I think now we're in a much healthier place.
I'm still seeing consistently that buyers are asking the sellers to pay the buyer's agent commission.
That's what I was going to. That was my next question that I was getting to. Who's really paying? And the majority of the time,
sellers need to mark that commission
because, in essence, in the real world, if I'm the seller's agent and we agree upon a price to sell a piece of property for out there, most of the time I know I've been on the other side of that transaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
as a real, I've been the buyer's agent. I've been the seller's agent out there. And if I'm going to attract buyer's agents to show that property, that buyer's agent has to know they're going to be compensated. Mm-hmm. Or there's a higher likelihood.
Well, and it's not about the buyer's agent. It's about the buyer.
The buyer. I mean,
the buyer would have to pay a certain amount to the buyer's agent if they have a buyer's agent. So it's
unless there's an agreement by the seller to pay both sides of that.
Correct.
Yep.
267-1023 is the number. This Let's Talk Money. We'll be right back.
Let's Talk Money. Talk Radio 102.3.
We're back with Let's Talk Money. 267-1023 is the number. With us today, Todd Henon and Brittany Fulmer Ennen.
And how do they reach you guys?
ToddHenon.com. Easy enough, ToddHenon.com.
Shouldn't be that hard, should it?
It's pretty doggone simple.
It's funny, in the technological world, it always used to be a phone number.
Of course.
Now, you can give a phone number now, but most people are going to go on a computer, flip the laptop up, and type ToddHenon.com.
Or you're still going to Google it, and then Google's going to give you the phone number if you prefer to call, right?
Yeah, sure.
There's exactly how it works.
There's a local market snapshot on the website that they've created, and we update once a week, and it gives you really great data for what's happening in the market.
Okay.
So it is helpful to go to. Yep.
So the point is, basically, to finish up on the commission conversation, you've got more transparency, but people can't, I hate to tell it, and sometimes people come into our office and do this. It's nobody's working for free. And you do have to recognize that. I mean, if you want to sell your house without paying any commission, you're going to have to sell your house by yourself.
I would say, as an average rule, you get what you pay for.
Yes.
So we're very, very thankful to be an established company.
You kind of end up in a situation where, and you said it during the break, Todd, where someone's kind of leaning on you about wanting to negotiate your fee, and you basically said to them pretty straightforward.
That's right.
I'm not working. I'm not doing what you want me to do for the price you're willing to pay me.
That's right.
Well, and it's because you invest in so many people in our office and the marketing. We are investing.
So I think the way that I would articulate that is based on what we're charging. That's not a number that's pulled out of thin air, that it's made up on the fly. We want to serve the client well. That is expensive work. That is expensive work to build the support systems, the time that we want to invest on the client's behalf. There is a cost to that. I tell folks all the time, I am not running this out of the front seat of my pickup truck.
Yeah.
There's a dozen people that support your effort or your goals, your family's needs, desires, whatever the case may be. It's it's not just some cat out there flying around solo making these numbers up.
Well, you also chose to build a business that was going to be more expensive to run.
Correct.
Because you felt like, all right, these are the tools that needed if we're really going to run a top-flight professional
And that's
office.
how we serve people.
Yeah,
It's not about us.
There's a relationship. There's a significant relationship between price and what you're receiving.
And quality.
And a lot of times people don't distinguish the difference. I mean, I see it in the accounting world where a lot of times I hear people complain, well, I don't want a guy that just fills the boxes in. I really want tax planning. Well, if you want tax planning as well as tax preparation, it's more expensive.
Yep.
Yeah.
I sat down with a family the other day, and this conversation started with one property, then another. We had an hour earmarked. The meeting went 3 hours, and now it's being blended in. And this is a family of means and success. And I found it so interesting. He said, I just want to put all this in front of my financial planner. And I thought, this is a brilliant businessman, but yet he's got somebody in his bullpen on his bench, right, that he's bouncing all this off of. And at the close of the meeting, we are now engaged in a 5-year plan. How do we handle these assets, the real estate? What's the timeline for each one of these pieces and parts? And so it started, and there was never one question, not one question about commissions or cost, because at that point they're viewing us as their ally, their advocate, and they need somebody to walk with them over this next 5-year journey.
Yeah,
and they expect people to be compensated accordingly.
Correct.
To expertise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's go to the phone lines. Hi, Edward. How are you?
Hey, Jamie. How you doing today?
I'm great.
Good to hear you and Jim back again. I have 2 questions. You helped me on the first one. When I turned 73, the little 401k that I had to pay some taxes on the money that I had.
Yeah, you had to take required minimum distributions.
Okay, that's a formal term for you got to pay the government for your own money.
Yes.
But let me ask you this. When I turn 74, do I have to do the same thing again?
Yes. Every year, unfortunately, Edward, for the rest of your life, they're going to require you to take a percentage of that out and send the government their chunk of it.
Okay, so when they've already taken the first year's monies, so when do I go back and tell them after I've turned 74 or when I turn 74?
Any time in the next calendar year. So if you turn 74 in 2026, they're going to know what your required minimum distribution is at the end of this year. So anytime after about January 4th of next year, you can call them and have them do it.
Okay, now the final question I have for the people who are sitting with you all, is there any law against somebody coming out, taking a picture of my house, and then sending me a quote asking to buy my property? What can a property owner do to keep that from occurring?
It's a great question. So I suspect the photo was pulled from offline. I was shared with somebody last night. There's a business model kind of sweeping the country where, out-of-state investors are basically trying to find someone in the right season of life that will sell a property at a discount price. I know we have a no-call list. Is there a no? You can't like block junk mail, can you?
I don't think you can.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's no good way to do it. Thank you for the call, Edward. We appreciate it.
I just hit delete.
Well,
or throw it in the shredder, one or the other.
Right.
Let's go there for a minute. I get it started as phone calls.
Yep.
I happen to own the lot next to me. I bet I get at least six texts a week. Mm-hmm. First question, I hit report junk. I've gotten tired of it. Delete report junk. That doesn't seem to do any good. It's kind of like unsubscribing from email. I'm not convinced it works, but it's something. But where I really wanted to go with this is, are these people legitimate? I mean, how much of this, we had a caller ask this question to us, and Jim, that's not really our world. It seems to me that there's a small part that really
fraud.
Is scams and frauds.
There's so much
But
fraud.
I think there's also a lot of people that trying to take advantage of people, where maybe it's not fraud, but they're older. That couple doesn't realize their home is now worth $400,000. It's not worth $150,000 anymore. That side of it.
Yep, I agree. So there's a couple of things there, but recognizing that letter or that text that says, "Hey, we'll buy the property at X," is in all likelihood a reflection of the county's assessment. But then that buyer is going to turn around and sell that property, and oftentimes they will try to procure a buyer even before they close at an inflated price, a price greater than what you're under contract to pay for. So is it fraudulent if there is somebody in need, if there's somebody that is, that has to move a property immediately? That's the option. It's kind of like foreclosure. I used to tell folks, if you call me 90 days before you get to this place,
we can do something.
Correct. I would not encourage anybody to go under contract based on a piece of mail that you get without having a conversation with a local real estate expert.
And it maybe that ends up being your best option if you got to get out of it tomorrow.
That's right.
But that's got to be a pretty rare scenario.
And
Correct.
there's story after story after story. My mom called me 2 weeks ago and said, "Hey, we have a lot. Somebody's trying to sell it.
Yep.
They've created an ID.
Yep.
Oh, geez.
So luckily it got to a title company of somebody that knew them.
Yeah.
And they're about to move forward with the closing. So you have to, if you have a vacant lot, you have to pay attention.
Yep.
And be sure that, there's no fraudulent activity going on. And if you're selling, a realtor can do a really great due diligence for a buyer. And that's the goal.
How do you and I know it's more common with property because I don't know why more common with vacant lots. How do you manage that? How do you monitor that?
Yep. So truly the only way you find out if you're sitting on an asset, for example, the prime target, I would say, is a property that was purchased quite some time ago. There is no mortgage and it sits out of state. In other words, it's not an asset that a family member's riding by frequently, right?
Yep.
So the only way that you can truly protect yourself, it's not with that 1-800 title insurance commercial, is if there is a lien. So you have a vacant piece of property, Jim Place puts a lien on that property for $100. Well, that can't be transferred, right, without the title company releasing that lien. Is that clunky, and is that problematic, and is it a pain in the neck? Well, of course, but if you had that out-of-town property that nobody's ever around,
that is correct. Might be. You're right. That's actually a foolproof way to do it.
As far as I know, it's the only way. I don't know any other way that you would be aware that there was some type of activity going on behind the screen, the scenes.
And from a realtor perspective, our rule, and Todd is adamant, we need an ID. We need, if we can't meet you in person, 99% of the time we're going to ask you to come to the office and meet you in person if we don't know you.
Yeah.
And that helps with, us not getting into
involved in that type of situation. Chuck, James, hold on, and we'll come to you right after the break. 267-1023 is the number. This Let's Talk Money. We'll be right back.
Let's Talk Money. Talk Radio 102.3.
We're back with Let's Talk Money. 267-1023 is the number. With us today, Brittany, Fulmer, Ennen, and Todd Henon. Let's go to the phone lines. Hi, Chuck. How are you?
Good morning. I wanted to also thank you guys for putting this show on, for getting some professionals in here that just don't do it for their weekend hobby, that Todd and Brittany actually have invested in brick and mortar and staff and everybody else to do the job that they get paid for. Wanted to comment on the caller who asked about people taking pictures and the predatory that we see out in the community towards elderly people. My father owned some property. It was ironic. Y'all talked about out-of-town property. He owned some property out in Florida that he inherited from his father, and we had so many people calling just wanting to make a deal for absolutely zero of what the value of the property was, but my father thought he was sitting on a gold mine. And, of course, Todd, Brittany, y'all know, Lee County, Florida is not a gold mine, but that's where it was. And bless his heart, he was told by his father, this is my investment in you for the future. And I said, Dad, these people, when they call you, all they're wanting is your Social Security number, your address, and trying to get you to agree on the phone, and they're going to send you a contract that says sign here, here, and here. Finally, what I ended up doing is I just said, Dad, I'll start paying the taxes on the property. We'll put it in my name. It'll still be your property, but that way they can start calling me, and I can start telling them, well, the property's not for sale. But he also has a residence in Chattanooga that they're doing exactly the same thing, taking pictures of it and sending him cards and notes and letters that we can get you this amount. And he thinks, oh, okay, well, here's my Social Security number. Here's my address.
Yeah.
Like, no, Dad, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah. But that was my comment, guys. I will hang up and listen.
Thanks, Chuck. We appreciate the comments.
Only comment I would make to Chuck about the transaction that took place between he and his father. He just inherited his father's cost basis for that property.
Oh, yeah, beforehand.
There's no step up in basis of debt.
And I don't know how if it really is valuable and has increased significantly in value, there might be a better way to do that, Chuck, is all we'd say.
If the protection's more important and or the price is more important, then you got to determine what the tax liability is.
That's a good point.
That's a great thought.
Hi, James. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Great. What's up?
I've got maybe a FYI or just a quick warning, and I don't know if you've heard of this company, a realtor out of California called Aaron's Realty.
No, sir.
Okay, I've been flipping some properties over in the mountains of North Georgia for the last several years, and I don't know how they got my address, phone number, anything, but I buy a lot of properties that are for sale by owner, and somehow they found out that I've been doing this, and what they're doing, they're sending me letters to try to sell me these properties, and I could actually go buy the property from the owner cheaper. But they're trying to sell these properties before they even purchase them.
Yeah, right. And I forget there's a term for that, and actually it's we don't participate in that. It's just that they're trying to sell the property before they buy the property or close on the property, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what's happening with me, and I've told them to stop just sending me letters and emails and phone calls, and it's not doing any good.
Yeah, no, and it won't do.
California.
It won't do any good, James. And I think the term to remember, Chuck said it really, really well. It is predatory, and if it even on the best day, it's borderline predatory. Here's where things have changed in a generation, truly in a generation. It's the data. It's the data. So
it's out there.
It is absolutely out there, and there is a demographic that is unexposed to data collection. Guys, there are business models in our industry that are truly built on robocalls. There's a computer making 3, 4, 5, 6 phone calls at a time, waiting on who picks up. And when they pick up, it's a scripted dialogue. They're trolling, they're fishing, for that one consumer out of whether it's 100, 200, whatever their math is. But with data and technology, the rules of our industry are certainly changing, and I'm sure that's bleeding over into all other pieces of the economy. Yes, sir.
2 words.
I was just kind of wondering if they're getting this information from the tax rolls, because that is public information. And is there any way that I could block that through a particular county to keep them from getting that information?
Not that I am.
Not that I'm aware of either, Todd. Thank you for the call, James. We appreciate it. One thing I would say, I don't even know that would help. I mean, if they're getting the for sale, because you go on, you're selling by owner, you go on Zillow, you list it for sale by owner. That's just an example or whatever. People are going to want that. I don't know how else they're going to sell it for sale by owner without putting that out there. As far as keeping them from contacting you, when you figure it out, James, you let us know, please. Go ahead, Jim.
You know, when you think about it, I mean, in essence, if I get it down to its most rudimentary form, buyer and or seller, beware.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree.
You live in a world where the information is out there.
That's right.
The data is out there. Mm-hmm. You've got to deal with the fact that it's there, and it's more incumbent and more important for you than ever before to have qualified representation on your side.
And call a professional.
Yes.
Yeah. 97% of realtors sell 1 or less houses a year.
Yeah. Back to the phone lines. Hi, Mound Ball. How are you?
Hey, good. How y'all doing? I bet we get 20 or 30 of those calls every day.
Yeah. I bet.
Half of them are people and half of them are automated. A lot of the pictures that they're sending in the letters that we're getting, I'm pretty sure they're coming off Street View.
That's right.
That they just get them off. They get them off Street View. The reason I call is a lot of the registrars now. It happened to be down in Florida. I had a lot that sat next to me, and had a neighbor call me one time and was mad because they said I was selling it, and I promised it to them if I sold it, and I ain't selling it. And come to find out, it had gotten listed and had a contract on it, and we stopped it.
Yep.
But in that process, I found out that most of the registrars have a link that if anything's, you can go in and put any name you want, and it'll send you an email if that name pops up in any registered document or any recorded documents.
Yep.
So it's a little after the fact, but it's pretty quick. When something hits that thing, that email comes out that day.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mound Ball. We appreciate it.
Yep.
Hey.
You can call back if I cut you off too early, Mound Ball.
Buyer beware, Jim, and then also, guard your family's assets, man. I mean, go whatever precautions you need to make with the registrar's office and the tax office. An out of state asset.
A simple observation is the bad guys have gotten a lot better. What they do.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well
right.
said. 267-1023 is the number. This Let's Talk Money. We'll be right back.
Let's Talk Money. Talk Radio 102.3.
We're back with Let's Talk Money. 267-1023 is the number. With us today, Todd Henon and Brittany Fulmer Ennen. What about prices? How much inventory-wise and days on market? What's the $300,000, $250,000 house versus the $1 million house? Is there a significant difference?
What's interesting is in inventory in July, and we're paying attention as we always do to data, but across the board in the greater Chattanooga area, inventory for above $1 million is 5.5 months. Inventory for below $200,000 is 1.5.
Now that's in my case, it's third-party observation. Mm-hmm. I happen to live in a neighborhood that has several homes in that $1 million plus category. Mm-hmm. They're staying on the market longer.
Oh, no question.
I mean,
is it true that they always have? I mean, I feel like there has to be less demand for over $1 million homes in Chattanooga. I mean, I know that's changing as more people have moved to town,
but I've seen a more noticeable slowdown in the last 9 to 12 months than what I had seen for the previous 2 or 3 years.
I would agree with that. I would agree with it. I think they sit longer. They're just. We'll take a big expensive farm, and if I can't sell it at whatever that number is, well, what's the next logical thing to do with it? And as much as I hate subdividing something, it's part of the conversation. It's like maybe the sum of the parts is higher than the whole.
Yeah.
And so, but simply because more people can afford the lower price point, that we're not looking for that one particular buyer. Now we need 3 or 4, and the math is greater. So that's a play.
Does the $500,000 house fall in the middle of those two? I mean, is it kind of a linear thing or is there really just strong demand on that lower end?
I would say the $500,000 house. What's surprising, the most consistent conversation I have is the $500,000 house that the last time we bought was $300,000, and the quality of the $500,000 house is not meeting the expectations of. So you're going into the 6s and 7s to find, and the 8s to find the quality.
Average price of a U.S. home $512,800.
Yeah,
average, not me. Average. Here's the crazy thing about this, y'all, and I chuckle. It's like, well, of course, COVID threw a wrinkle. Of course, a 2.5% interest rate threw a wrinkle. Just like my first home was like 13.65, in 1987. They're all wrinkles, but at the end of the day, we're dealing with an appreciating asset.
Yeah,
the value appreciates over the long term. Like we were discussing earlier, Jamie, it's like, and I get it. There's business models. There's enterprises built on the single family rental models, but just as a word of encouragement to the general masses, it's like the secret over and over and over again. When you look at common denominators of wealth building, buy a dang home.
You're right.
The thing
you're right.
Brittany, I can go back to when your father and I were graduate assistants at the University of Tennessee, and we would be recruiting. We would be recruiting in Atlanta. We could be recruiting in Charlotte. And you could obviously see those areas were exploding. Mm-hmm. The thing that I look at in Chattanooga, Tennessee, is every one of those explosions Chattanooga missed until this one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say completely missed, but you look at 2018, you look at 2025. That world had taken place in other parts of our country, and it had bypassed Chattanooga, and now it's here.
Well, and from 2020, so from COVID until 2025, we appreciated 68%.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy.
Substantial.
Very substantial. And now, across the board, you can look at a 3 to 5% appreciation.
And what's weird now, it's almost the higher numbers starting to get normal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Agreed. I agree with that. Yeah, people. Certainly the expectations are circle around that. I would add this, Britt. When you look at the Mid-South, when you look at whether it's the Kentucky-Tennessee line or Nashville, and you move south to the Panhandle of Florida, we're experiencing significant change, significant folks. So at any rate, it's an interesting dynamic. Thanks for having us, y'all.
Thanks, guys. Enjoyed it. Coming up next, Yaffe Live, 1 to 3, 3 to 7 Sport Talk. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.